everybody, it's me. So this is the first time in I don't know how long that I wore makeup. So you're welcome, because I'm 56, newly minted 56. So I don't look as good as I used to do be. But anyway, welcome to a new episode of Butterfly Talk. That's where you hear me talk about stuff about EB, special need parenting. Basically a mom to mom show. And so, just so you know, moms, this is for you. This is for you. So anyway, Butterfly Talk used to be a podcast that I did a few years ago. I interviewed all kinds of people. It was great. But I kind of, after a while, I just didn't know what else to talk about. Who else to interview, because the EB community, it's not like there's that many people out there. And so just like I didn't know what else to do, so I did that. So I'll put a link below if you want to listen to those, because those are really interesting and really cool. So now this is going to be what it is right now. This is my third episode. I try to do it once or twice a month, depending on what's going on in my life. So anyway, coronavirus, how's everybody doing? It's getting tiresome, isn't it? I mean, it's like it never ends. It never ends. We stay in the home and we have no choice. This Friday, I'm taking Nikki to Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, to get his blood work. This is the first time I've gone since March. And I'm a little terrified. Yeah, because it's not like you can wear a mask. I can't just put any mask on him. I bought these really soft ones, so hopefully he can wear it. Of course, disinfectant wipes and stay away from everybody, social distancing, whatever. So that's what we'll do. So, all right, today's shirt. Okay, this is a shirt that I actually designed, and it's available on my Zazzle store. I'll put a link to it. And it says, see, wearing a ribbon for my hero. Epidermolysis Bullosa awareness. So I love this shirt. Again, on my Zazzle store, I make no money. I just do it because to me, it's just how I cope. I do things. And then my mug of today is my big hug mug. This is probably one of the oldest mugs I own. I got it for my birthday, and I remember I just turned 56 the other day. So I got this one for it was 1993. So I was 29 when I got this mug. And so I still have it. I still love it. I got a kick out of it on Chicago Fire when one of the guys there on Chicago Fire had the same mug. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, today's topic is depression. Depression. The reason why I wanted to do this, talk about depression, is because even though I did a video before, and I'll put a link to that also, called The Struggle is Real, there's many kinds of depressions. This depression that comes along with being a parent of a child that is just really sick and it gets worse all the time, it's very different from other kinds of depressions. Let me give you some examples. There's the clinical depressions, and I definitely don't want to compare it to that. I have a cousin, actually I had a second cousin. Our moms were first cousins and were really good, close friends. And so my cousin, she had two children, and so I'm really close to both of them. We grew up together, and the guy who was a little older than me, had clinical depression. He was bipolar. I didn't know he was bipolar until after he committed suicide. But I knew there was something going on with him since we were children. I knew he just reacted things differently. He could be extremely charming, and then he could be a jerk. I just couldn't understand that polarity, at the time because I didn't know about clinical depression. And so he had, we had just met, we had just visited when I went to Italy in 2007. Everything was great. He was sweet. 2 weeks after I came back from from Italy to the United States, he wrote me an email saying, "I'm just saying goodbye. I'm committing suicide." And of course, I freaked out. I'm like, "What is wrong with you? You have a son. You have this and that. Why?" And at the time, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew there was something going on in his head that wasn't quite right. So he did commit suicide. He jumped off the bridge. And so that's clinical depression. I don't want to compare this to clinical depression. I know there's a completely different animal. There's also the depression when things happen in your life that are just a big blow. And an example from my life where something was a big blow was, for years, I worked for Domino's Pizza. I was manager. I won all kinds of awards. Rookie Manager of the Year, best sales increase. But I mean, I did so well. I loved it so much. I wanted to own my own Domino's Pizza store. That was my dream. And even after he gave me all these awards and everything, the franchisee who was supposed to give me a recommendation so I could buy my own Domino's Pizza store said, "Oh, no, I don't give recommendations to anybody because I gave recommendation to somebody earlier, a few years ago, and I got burned." And I just couldn't believe he waited until the last minute to tell me this, because I thought it was going to be a foregone conclusion that I was going to buy a Domino's Pizza store. We had gone to see stores in New Mexico, in Ruidoso. We had gone to Texas, to Granbury, Texas. Beautiful. Granbury, Texas is beautiful. I would have loved to move there. Near a lake. I mean, we had all these options. There was a store in Helena, Montana that was really good. And so I went to franchise classes. To me, when he told me that, I fell into a depression that is hard for me to really explain. But it's the kind of depression you just kind of, okay, you have to reinvent yourself. And that's when I started working for the computer business and went to work for Babbage's. And that was depression. Eventually, I climbed that mountain and I crossed it, Still sucks to say, to think about it, but I'm fine. I don't cry about it anymore. And then there's a depression that is commonly called grief. When Alex died, for those that don't know, I had a baby. I was full term, so I was 9 months and 1 day pregnant when we found out my baby that I was carrying had died in utero. And so we had to, have it delivered, and we had to bury him. And it was awful. I mean, grief is, all it is just a deep, deep depression. I cried every day for weeks. And then it was maybe every other day, and then a few times a week. And, it just kind of like, you learn to live with it. It's not like you get used to it, you learn to live with it. You have to think a different way. It's something that can't be changed. You have no power over it. And so you have to, grief, it depends. Grief is really different, because if it's somebody that's been sick a long time and they die, you almost start grieving beforehand, But if it's a shock, like that was for me when I was 9 months pregnant, I was so happy. I had the crib ready. Everything was ready. I was happy. Diapers were bought, and it's horrible. It's a shock. And so that takes longer to get over. I don't want to say get over. To learn to live with it. But being a special needs mom is a 24-hour, 7 days a week, every day is a new challenge job. So it's a different sort of grief. It's a different sort of depression than the normal. Let me see, look at my notes here. Let me read you a portion of my book where I talk about depression. This is just before I started taking antidepressant medications. This is from my book Butterfly Child, and this is page 397. And this is after, I told Nikki that to be able to not have to get worse, he would need to just kind of try to stand up, because what happens is atrophy. I think that's what it's called. My first language is Italian. Sometimes I mix the languages. You don't use it, you lose it. So if you don't stand up every day and try to straight, pretty soon you're going to be like this all the time. And that's true for anybody, let alone people with EB, So he would need to, like, 3 times a day, stand up and stay straight, and do his hand exercises so they wouldn't become like this. And we were in the fusion center and we talked, and he said, if the only way for me to get better is to do that, then I don't want to get better. That settled it. Somehow this whole set of experiences, one after the other, put me in a funk that I was having a hard time getting out of. I didn't even realize how bad it was until my husband called me one day and demanded I saw a therapist. My therapist is a bottle of vodka, I told him. That sentence infuriated him so much. He basically forced me to find a therapist and would not let it go until I made the appointment. God bless my husband. Before I went, though, I had to look deep inside myself and figure out what was happening. Was I depressed? Maybe I was. I wasn't functioning well. That much was true. Depression eradicates not just joy, but meaning. I felt I could no longer put up the face and pretend to be happy. It was too exhausting. There was an ugly crack in my soul, one that was deeper than I had first thought. I decided that day that I had to get rid of anything hateful in my life. If I had an ill thought about anything, it had to be replaced by a positive one. I've always been a half-full glass and a silver lining kind of gal, but I know I had to kick it in high gear. And then I go on and talking about how I dealt with it. But I think the main lesson from that is that I met this therapist, and we talk. I still see him to this day. I like him. I love him. He's European as well, so we have that in common. And he put me on these antidepressant, acetylopram something. I don't know. These medications all have these weird names, but I know it works, because if at times maybe I run out or I forget the bottle and I'm on a trip or something, I'm a mess. I cry all day long. So it just keeps my mental state stable. So it's really quite cool. Let me see what else I put on my notes. One thing that I also started doing quite a bit, I've always done it, I've always wrote, but I started writing more. That was my way of coping with it. And this is what I wrote on my blog. I write to battle my depression and attempt to try to keep my head above water. I write because I want people to know how horrible EB is. Especially moms feel alone, and when you're dealing with something as rare and as horrible as EB, not only we need awareness, but other moms need to know they are not alone. Raising my Nikki, I can honestly tell you, I felt every emotion you could ever imagine. I felt lonely and loved, resentful and blessed, tired and full of adrenaline. I felt abandoned by God and guided by God. I felt lost and found myself. I hated life for being so darn hard, and I loved life for bringing me this amazing gift. I just want Nikki's pain to be understood and acknowledged, because it's real, it's important. And not only Nikki's or all EB patients, but everyone with any sort of illness, even mental illness. Depression is real. physical pain matters. And when it's minimized, it's truly a disservice to ourselves. And by that, I do not mean it is okay to wallow in pity for ourselves. That is not good either. I think what got me going at first, wanting to talk about depression for special need parents, is because I was put down for it. I was ridiculed. I was told by several EB patients, and these are the EB patients that have it compared to Nikki, very mild. They barely bandage and, whatever. And so I was told that, don't talk about that, it makes me feel bad. What is it that they wrote? I wrote it down here. I've been put down and ridiculed. Then I should be not be talking about depression, being a special mom, because it makes your children feel bad. That never really felt. I mean, of course, I can't get in Nikki's head. I don't talk to Nikki about my depression, but Nikki knows this is hard for me too. He would never come and tell me, "Stop talking about it, Mom." I think that's what I like, that he's a boy, because the way of coping with it is not to badmouth people or just to be all judgy and stuff. He just doesn't want to talk about it. He pretends it doesn't exist. I asked him yesterday, because he plays online a lot, and I asked them, do you play with other disabled people? And he said, I don't want to. He said, is that weird? I'm like, no, why would that be weird? I just don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. And I wrote this in my blog too. Let me see. Hold on. How does Nikki survive? Okay. He just doesn't think about EB. His computer is his opportunity to be someone else, to transform his state of mind and develop optimism and perseverance. He could be bitter, depressed, angry, and he has sometimes. I mean, at times he can be really, really upset. But instead he makes the choice of chasing B out of his mind. And it's a real lesson for all of us, Let's not put down other people for being sad, Being a special needs mom means we need to be there for our kids. We need to be their cheerleaders. We need to be there with a happy face because we want to help them. But behind closed doors, it's not as easy as it sounds. It can be really, really hard to just not think about it sometimes. I have my moments of deep despair. I've had my moment last month. I was going to do a video, and then I was just crazy. I cried all day. I don't know. It just, Nikki is almost 24. He'll be 24 later this year. And so this is not something, it's not a moment where it's a constant, it's ongoing. I have to always see these wounds. I have to always do this. Always put a happy face. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's just really hard to do that. I know how important, and okay, this is another thing I wrote on my blog, which I constantly, think about. I know how important and what a forceful influence in our lives the word hope and happiness are. How important it is to find the silver lining, the bright side. Being positive can give us a reason to go and move forward. I don't want to feed into depression and fall into the abyss. I walk up every day searching for a reason to be happy, a reason to sing. And when I talk about that, I think about my grandma. My dad's mom was an amazing lady. She lived to be almost 102. So I have good genes, yay. She used to whistle a lot. I remember being in a field with her when I was maybe 6 or 7, and she was looking for chicoria, and I don't know what it is in English. I never even looked it up. We were looking for chicoria together, and she was whistling, and I stopped and asked her, Grandma, why do you whistle so much? And she responded to me, well, it just makes me happy. And of course I can't whistle, but I can do other stuff. So I think about her because, of course, her life was not really flowers and roses either. She lost a baby too. She was 7 months long, and she lost a baby. She didn't have any children with disabilities, but she lived through World War I, World War II. She had a tough life. And so I think about her. I think about, other special need moms, and I gain my strength watching you guys. And Niki's 24 almost, and it's just crazy that he's made it this long, and he still has this attitude. Yeah, I know I can't walk, and I can't eat, and I can't do this, and I cannot do that, but he still can find a reason to live. Who am I to complain, right? I definitely don't complain to him, that's for sure. So anyway, that's all for today. If you have any topics to suggest to me for me to talk about, I still want to do the video of Niki where people ask a bunch of questions to him, and I want to do a video of me playing the piano for you guys. I've been practicing 2 songs. One is I Won't Give Up by Jason Mars. I forgot what the name of it is. I Won't Give Up. And I love that song. And so one of these days I'm going to do a little video of me playing it. And so anyway, I'm just blabbing. So thank you for watching. And to be notified for next videos, just subscribe and turn on the bell below.